Welcome to Education Without Borders. Today, we want to talk about a common topic that is usually taken for granted, but it's a very important topic. When you hear thinking outside the box or think outside the box, what does this mean? So today, in this lesson, on Education Without Borders, we want to explore the idea of thinking outside the box. So there are two things that come to mind when you hear of this statement, thinking outside the box. One, it's about thinking. So you think in the mind. So it's first and foremost, you start in the mind. The second thing that we want to explore within this context is the box. So when you think about the box, a box is something that is contained, and it cannot be contained without specific boundaries. Therefore, when we say thinking outside the box, or when somebody tells you, think outside the box, they are actually provoking your mind and also bringing in the notion or the idea of boundaries. And outside means that you have gone out, you have broken. So you are being asked in your mind to break those boundaries or those borders that clog you into one confined space. So I hope now we are together when we say, let us think outside the box. And what are some of the boundaries that are set to create these boxes in our minds, in our lives, in our day-to-day activities? I want to name just a few. First and foremost, you have the boundaries. You have geographical boundaries. Every country has a boundary, and that boundary defines where the jurisdiction of that nation ends. And within those boundaries, there are certain rules and expectations. And for you to get outside of those boundaries, you may require permission, you may require a passport, you may require to go through authorities. So when we say think outside the box, it means you are breaking some things, you are going outside the normal, and you need to also know what are the rules and regulations as you move within this particular boundary to the next. Some of the things that bind us in mental boxes are not necessarily the physical, but other things. For example, our education. Education can be a boundary that clogs you within a particular box, that makes you think that or have certain myths that because I'm not educated, I cannot do this. Or those are the educated. So you create now a boundary between those who know and those who don't. And it's important to also point out at this point that boundaries, more often than not, could be causes of conflict or lack of peace. And indeed, we know even in the geographical space, boundaries, there are a lot of disputes. Already there are documented very many disputes because of boundaries, because of arguing. My boundary was here and you pushed it. Even in our small geographical spaces, you can think about your plot or your property. The boundaries we create or which are created by surveyors could be causes of conflict. So those are just examples. When we bring it to our minds, when we say think outside the box, we are trying now to go to those areas where there could be conflict. If you say, because there's an education boundary, therefore you are not supposed to do this and that and the other, that could be a cause of conflict. And an example of an area, an emerging area where education is actually going beyond the borders or the boundaries, is the digital space. As we speak, those who are looking at me or the viewers or the learners, in this education without borders lesson, we are already in a digital classroom. This is a classroom. We have broken the borders, the boundaries, hence the name Education Without Borders. I'm educating people of different ages, ranging from all manner, any student who can follow this lesson could be 4 years all the way up to 100 years. So there's no boundary of age in this class. That's an example of thinking outside the box. We have thought outside the box and created a classroom where there are no boundaries of age. Even curriculum, even school fees is not stipulated. We are here to educate one another in a natural manner, in a calm manner, the day to day, without any sophistication. It doesn't matter your education level. If you are able to listen, to follow this video, we have already thought outside the box and brought knowledge to you. It's on your fingertips. This is an example of breaking physical boundaries and creating a classroom in a digital space. And moving forward, we are moving now even from the digital, we are integrating the Internet of Things. Artificial intelligence is another area that could cause a boundary. There will be a boundary of knowledge, and we want to break that boundary, to think outside the box, and to say that knowledge is not a monopoly of any particular social class, any particular age group, any particular education level, any particular race or tribe. There are no borders. We are talking about thinking outside the box, and there should not be any borders of knowledge. Knowledge was given to us. We need to disseminate this knowledge to all, irrespective of their social status, their race, their tribe. So I've already mentioned some of the borders that are created in our social setups. Think about a tribal border. It can be a cause of a lot of conflict. We are saying think outside that. Don't think of yourself, I'm this tribe or the other. You think outside the box, because tribes have put us into cocoons that could be very, very retrogressive. Thinking outside the box is looking at yourself as a human being who was created by God to be able to get to their full potential, their full potential. Our full potential is inhibited by these boxes. And therefore, in Education Without Borders, we are saying, think outside the box, identify the boundaries that box you into a certain way of thinking, and move forward. That's the only way you'll be able to utilize your full potential. Which is the other way, borders which are created in our minds. Social status. Our social status. Do I have, am I wealthy? Am I a person of means? Am I, a humble person from very humble beginnings? It doesn't matter. Thinking outside the box means that you think beyond that. Don't start thinking about yourself you have not been to. You are not a been to. When you hear people saying, oh, I have been all over the world. When I was in the US, when I was in the UK, I went to Japan, I have been to Australia, I have been to South Africa, I have been all over the world. Don't get intimidated by that. Those are just some of the things you need to think outside the box. You did not have left your village. Today, the world is a global village. And therefore, you did not have traveled. You are able to know what is going on all over the world if you use the information available the facilities and all the knowledge is now available at your fingertips. Therefore, having traveled should not be a boundary to box you to thinking that you cannot learn from others. We are here talking about thinking outside the box. The fact that you have never been to Australia does not mean you cannot know everything there is about their culture, about their geographical, about their resources, because now the world has become a global village. Education Without Borders is here to help us and encourage us to think outside the box and not to look at ourselves as people who have been boxed in a space because of this or the other. The other boundary that can cause us to feel boxed in, the gender boundary. Today we talk about gender. We talk about gender and their different societies. We talk about two genders that were created, male and female. And there is myth of saying, oh, women cannot do this, or this is just for men, that is a job for so and so. That is creating borders. This is what we are saying. We want to break those borders because they box us into thinking within the box. Indeed, these days we have even moved on and said, don't just think outside the box, throw away the box. But before you do that, we need to understand what is this box we are talking about. These are the boundaries that we create around ourselves, and they are in our minds. They inhibit us from achieving our full potential. Don't think of yourself as because it is said that women cannot do this job, or they cannot be in these careers, I cannot be in this profession, is not for women. Who said that? Those are the boxes we are talking about. You need to think outside the box. Don't think about yourself being capable of doing anything based on your gender. Whichever gender it is, ask yourself, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my opportunities? In other words, you do for yourself the SWOT analysis. The other thing that can create boundaries is age. I've already talked about Education Without Borders, having lessons which are digital, which are able to address every age. And age, sometimes we talk of generations. We talk of baby boomer generation. We talk about the Gen Zs. We talk about the millennials, the alpha. Those are also other boundaries that we box ourselves. Again, when we come to thinking about knowledge and education, as I speak now in this digital class, I am talking to baby boomers. I'm talking to people who are in their 90s, people who are in their 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, all the way to small children. And I'm very glad to say that this is information that I can't be embarrassed. It doesn't matter whichever age is following. It is relevant to every age group. This is educating all age groups not to think themselves as boxed within certain boundaries of age, but to know that that is a box. Age is a box that is created, or you create for yourself, to inhibit yourself from reaching your full potential that God created you to. Finally, which is the other boulder that we create around ourselves? The other boulder is economic status. Think about it. When you talk about your economic status, you look at yourself and say, oh, I'm just a simple employee. I'm a simple entrepreneur. I have just a startup, or I've just settled from one location, I'm settling down. I'm not a person of means. I'm not like the people who have big companies. I'm not a multi-national company. I'm not this, I'm not the other. Those, again, are boundaries that you're creating around yourself. And the importance of throwing away this box of economic boundary is so that you'll be able to ask yourself, how can I grow from one level to the other? How can I package myself? How can I brand myself so that if I go to market myself or to introduce myself to any company, for example, if I'm looking for a job, when somebody looks at my CV, and remember, the CV is not necessarily what you write. You are writing your CV every day. CV is also another boulder. It's not on paper, it's your life. Your life is your CV. So in this education without borders, therefore, we are saying within this context of branding yourself and not looking at yourself within the boundaries of your economic status, brand yourself by writing your CV, by being authentic, being able to do something that you'll not be ashamed of. That is your day-to-day CV. Thank you very much for watching. If you like us to keep on throwing out the box, thinking outside the box, subscribe, share this information, share this to your friends, everybody of any age group. Let's continue with this digital class of education without borders in this lesson of thinking outside the box. Not only do you think outside the box, we are now saying throw away the box. Thank you for watching, and keep watching, keep learning. We shall be back.